Hello and welcome to Darius Comic School, and today we'll take a look at a very important comic, a very moving comic, and I was kind of skeptical of doing this review of Uncanny X-Men Days of Future Past, but I was rereading the first couple of pages of this comic, and I had tears in my eyes twice. And I'm not kidding, I'm a grown man. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen people die in front of me. I've seen injustice. I've seen a lifetime pass, 30 years, 8 years. But this comic moved me twice in, 15 minutes. And that is the power of storytelling and the power of art. And as you can see here, I have here The Last Pickup Artist. It was one of my first comics in 2016 I drew. And as you can see, I took the inspiration from Days of Future Past, but not just the inspiration. I would say I remixed things. And I will tell you in a second why. We've here a scene between, I took Gary Vaynerchuk and Teal Swan because I was doing Days of Future Past, and in this future, the heroes I looked up to at that time, well, it was kind of like in danger, like freedom of speech and something like this. But I will go into this in a second. So let me tell you why I was so quiet this week. And this week I was kind of doing a commission, a painting commission. And bear with me for a minute. We'll return in a second to the drawings. So I started out making comics, and then I started making commissions, and then people came to me and told me, okay, I would need this on a canvas. Can you do it? And so I went down the rabbit hole chasing the money. As you can see, this was my first Tina Turner, and the client was kind of happy, but we had a reference photo, and on this picture I was constructing it with my eye, and here then I used a different technique that I tried here. Like I printed out, I had a reference picture, then I kind of made only the black and white lines in Photoshop. I printed it out, I put on some graphite on the paper, and then it's kind of like tracing, but I have no, how do you call it? No projector. So I was and then I did it again, and now the client is happy, and I have two Tina Turners. This will be varnished up these days, or how do you say it? Just coated with some varnish, and then I will ship this one, and this one's up for sale, but not for you. I'm just telling you what I was up this week, and it's not a commercial. It's just saying sometimes you gotta do something else, and I wish I would have started right away with this, but bear with me. It all makes sense. So when I first saw this one, The Days of Future Past, it was kind of like, I don't know, it looked very old school. I browsed through the drawings, and I was not super impressed. It was like, okay, it looks fine, but like I was kind of accustomed to Jim Lee stuff and Adam Kubert, Andy Kubert, and Mike Mignola, Frank Miller. This looked all very old, very 80s or 70s. I don't know what is this. I think this is the 80s. This is 91. Well, I think late 80s. And then I got it. I don't know, I was drawn to this comic, and when I read it the first time, I was so impressed, and I will show you in a second why this is such a great comic book. The art, the writing, the whole team, and this means a lot. Like, it means that in 2 issues, 2 24-page comics, you could do a story that feels like a 90s to 2 hours movie, and your life will never be the same after reading this. And it sounds a bit melodramatic, but let's get into it in a second. Or should we get first into comic and then I tell you why I took this for this one? Well, as you can see, my own comic, there is some relation. I don't know when John Carpenter's Escape from New York came out, but I feel a sense of John Carpenter's Escape from New York. And this very first scene I took into my comic is from John Carpenter's Escape from New York. And I kind of mixed it up. I mixed everything I had, and I then did my first issue, and it is my own story. And this is from Batman, the animated TV show, and it is somehow a remix of all the media I consumed. And this is from Watchmen, and it is good to remix, but also then, like, my story is my story. It has its own core and its own heart, even if it takes or remixes elements from others. But let me show you. And here again, the cap from Escape from New York, in the background New York, and big zeppelins lighting the streets. But let us come to the actual review of X-Men Days of Future Past. Let me show you. Let's give the credits. Chris Claremont, co-writer. And I have to say, Chris Claremont is very wordy, sometimes a bit too much exposition, but that's okay. I mean, clarity is key in making comics and in reading comics and in understanding comics, so it's okay. Like, to make it over clear in some ways, it's a bit better than to be vague in this sense. John Byrne, I wasn't exposed to much John Byrne stuff, but he earns my respect in this issue. Terry Austin as an inker, great guy. Glynis Oliver, I love her coloring style. And yeah, also credits to the rest. And a great cover, I guess, because like you go to the newsstand and the Uncanny X-Men is kind of withered, and then you see Cyclops is slain, Colossus apprehended, Nightcrawler slain, and all of these guys. And then, like, this is just a great and very, very iconic image, but it's not just iconic for flashy or how do you say, just to show off. This is this earned its reputation through a great story and great artwork. Let me get this for a thumbnail. Okay, like this I would like for a thumbnail. And let me show you how a great story starts and what comics truly are. I will often, because I have a great relationship to movies, and I will compare often comics to movies, and some will say, don't compare comics with movies because comics, it's its own medium. I know, but probably you can clearly see here maybe the relation this had with movies like probably Escape from New York. So we start here, and it's great. It's presented Days of Future Past. I love the writing. It is so amazing. And then we start with, and you see here the New York skyline. I love the simple drawings, the simple coloring. Everything reads very, very well. And we start here. This is New York, the Big Apple. Once upon a time, it was a nice place to live in. It is no longer. Ah, Logan, I wish you'd picked a safer part of Manhattan for a rendezvous. I wish there was a safer part of Manhattan for you to pick. And then the street is Park Avenue. In the upper 70s, when Kate Pride was a child, it was one of the swankiest neighborhoods in the city, if not in the world. Now it is a slum, abandoned, derelict, dying, much like the city, the country, and the planet around it. Welcome to the 21st century. And this is like on a book. I was reading Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, and in the first page, you already get like a good writer gives you already in the first minute, in the first screen, on the first page, what's the story is about and where we are, the setting, the stakes, and all of that. And always on the bottom, there will always be a punchline. At least in good movie making or in good writing. And you already know the stakes are high. And then she kind of walks the street. Everything she thinks is pretty cool. It's pretty helpful. I could read it all, but I will skip a few of the parts. But she tries to find Wolverine, but then she gets trapped by some rogues. And these rogues don't like mutants, but they also don't like the Sentinels, and Sentinels are ruling over North America. And so this is also beautiful because Rogue has no powers because this color suppresses her powers. And so she now says, not if I have anything. This guy says, you're going to be a long time dying, Muty. And she says, not if I have anything to say about it, Rogue. Let's hear it for Kate's last stand. This inhibitor collider I am forced to wear neutralizes my power to face through solid object. I'm just a normal woman against these odds. And this is always cool when heroes kind of lose their power or are on their last resort. And then Wolverine shows up and he says, well, I think I have something to say. And he keeps his mutant's power for himself, so he doesn't trigger the Sentinel alarm or some scanners. And so he just beats the guy up. And some very beautiful drawings. Like, I like this one very much. Come on, zoom in. Like, this is very cool. Like, just the body language. And so he rescues her, and I say, I know. What do you mean? Come on, let's roll. And then she says, so tell me, Colonel Logan, how's life in the Canadian Resistance Army? A thrill. A minute, darling. The words from London is that everything is on automatic. The moment the Sentinels move out of North America, the other great powers will launch a full-scale nuclear attack. Then it's up to the X-Men. And then Wolverine gives her a device, and already the times are grim, and now it's even grimmer. Like, we get the information that we could be at the brink of war and at the brink of nuclear destruction, and that the last hope for this is are the X-Men. But the X-Men are kind of immobilized, and then Kitty Pryde thinks about what happened and how fast things got very bad. As you can see, the boss is kind of carried by horses, and then she says, it's North America in the year 2014. There are 3 classes of people: H for baseline human, clean of mutant genes, allowed to breed. A for anomalous human, a normal person possessing mutant genetic potential, forbidden to breed. And M for mutant, the bottom of the heap, made pariah and outcast by the Mutant Control Act of 1988, hunted down with a few rare exceptions, killed without mercy. In the quarter century since the Act's passage, millions have died. They were the lucky ones. Like, this is some pretty hefty words. And so the sentinel checks her and she gets searched. And after an exhausting and intentionally humiliating security examination to ensure that she's carrying no contraband, Kate is allowed to re-enter the camp that she has her home, that has been her home since the turn of the century. As always, the first thing she sees is as always, there are fresh graves. And then she passes the graves of Ben Grimm, Charles Xavier, Scott Summer, Kurt Wagner, and all of these people. And that's like really, with a really crazy start. And then she meets up, and we are getting the hints that they're planning something really crazy. And then a guy in his wheelchair shows up because, Rasputin, like Colossus, says, I've been a simple man, old friend, more farmer in my soul than superhero. And then Magneto, this is cool, like shows up in a wheelchair. He has kind of taken probably somehow the place of Xavier. And this resonated with me because like one of my favorite stories was also like the Age of Apocalypse, and I kind of love this alternate universe stuff. And so they want to send somebody back in time to change the timeline, and it will be Kitty. And then Colossus says, like Kitty doesn't want to wait to act. Tonight's the night they will act. And then Colossus says, a moment, my wife. And then Colossus says, as I said, I have doubts. Can our mad, desperate plan work? More importantly, should it? We are toying with the basic fabric of reality. And if we succeed, what will happen to us, to our love? It might cease to exist along with the Sentinels. That's a risk we have to take. What does the love of two people matter against the life of billions? I am selfish. It matters most to me. Peter, if our love was meant to be, it will be. Only this time in a world where our children can grow up free and unafraid. The Sentinels killed my friends, and they killed my babies. If changing the past holds out even the slightest hope of saving them, I'll do it, whatever the cost. I love you, Kate. And I, you, Peter, from the moment we first met. And like, this lets you choke up. Like, this is some pretty dramatic stuff. Like, I mean, it's written very well. And then Magneto shows up. They have this jammer which Wolverine brought in, and it will allow them to free themselves of the collar for a couple of hours. And then they proceed and they send Kitty Pryde back in time, and she shows up. Not yet, but she will. Like, this is then the past, or the 1980s, I guess, something like that. And Kitty Pryde is kind of new to the X-Men, and she's in the danger room, and she's a bit afraid of Kurt Wagner. He frightens her a bit, and they're not yet warm with each other. So you can see that from the body language. And she goes through the danger room, and in the middle of the danger room, this happens. Like, she from the future or from a different future enters this body, and Kurt gets her out of the danger room, and they check what's happening. And so she wakes up and she immediately hugs him, and Kurt is kind of like, what's up? Like, a moment ago you were scared of me, and now you missed me, and you're wondering that I'm alive. And she then proceeds to tell the X-Men what's gonna happen. And well, it takes him a while to realize, but then the X-Men jump into action, and she tells them the story about like that election back then, and they kind of voted for a right-wing guy, and he enacted the Bolivar Trask Anti-Mutant Act, and a lot of mutants were killed and died. And as she tells the story, we jump back to the future, and in this future, some pretty rough stuff is going on, because it's 2013 and the New York subway, and they say this old subway tunnel working like a charm. It'll take us into the heart of Manhattan. How's Kate? And then Colossus says, unconscious. I hope she remains so. The less Kitty knows of what has happened to her, and what may happen to her, the better. I wish we could have brought Magneto. And then Wolverine says, he knew what he was doing when he volunteered to cover our escape. His wheelchair would have slowed us down. His wheelchair would have slowed us up too much. A noble death is still a death, Logan, and I'm so sick of death. Like Magneto sacrificed himself, and they left him behind. He wanted to be left behind, and that's like, the stakes are so high in this story. And then Franklin Richards gets killed by some sentinels showing up, and collectively the mutants fight them, and Colossus throws Wolverine, and they wipe out these 3 sentinels, but then they go into stealth mode again so they can reach a building, and I don't know exactly what's the mission. And then back in the days at the Pentagon, there will be some hearing from Senator Kelly, but the evil Brotherhood of Mutants is showing up with Mystique, and from here it's kind of like a James Bond spy thriller, and it really matters what's going on here. Like while I was reading this, when I first saw these pages, I thought, okay, this is kind of boring, a hearing, but just what's happening and the implication of the actions and how they will matter in time and to what they will lead. Like it's really something about the human condition, like about fear, decisions, acting out of desperation. I will go on this in a moment. I want to just show you a page I did for the last Pickup Artist 3, and in this one, in the future, AI will have taken over because we failed to teach AI a great lesson. So a similar topic, but just kinda. And I took for my team my heroes. Like my heroes back then were not the X-Men. My heroes back then were Tear Swan and James Marshall and Sasha Daygame, Ken Wilber, Owen Cook, Elliot Hulse, Gary Vaynerchuk, Hudson White, Russell Brand, Sasha Crowbar, and many more. And these are kind of like my X-Men. And my X-Men were the real-life X-Men, and they were kind of like YouTube celebrities. It sounds kind of cheesy, it sounds kind of bad, but they taught me so much about like healing trauma, approaching women, the universe and time, strength training, following your passion, probably creating, following your mastery, and then by reaching out to people or to produce like content like this one, to show the people what you have. And you know what, this gave me a bit of freedom. So in my comic, I kind of took what I had, and with something like dating, but it's not so much about dating. I thought it would be about dating, about pickup artist, because for me this pickup artistry was kind of my way from powerlessness to power. But as you can see, it's not about picking up girls. It's about the world we live in. And I don't want to say that we live in bad times, because it's definitely during World War II, pretty stupid shit has gone down, and the Middle Ages, you don't want to be just thrown somewhere in a cellar to rot, or even before that. So, but these are our times, and in our times we have to fight our battles. And so while I was writing this, I was taking the preacher from They Live, another John Carpenter movie, and the preacher says there something, and I took the preacher and I used it for my comic, and I said, "They keep you asleep with the salt, the sugar, and the fat. They've given you porn, want you to waste your creative life force. Our owners want to keep us isolated." And in the back, they said, "No muffins, kid." And then he says, "Should have gone home." Like, as you can see and hear, this I stole from RoboCop, where my protagonists are just walking through the streets, and here there's a hostage situation, and they say, "Okay, Miller, don't hurt the mayor. We give you whatever you want." And this guy says, "First, don't fuck with me. I'm a desperate man. And second, I want a fresh coffee. And third, I want my old job back." And you know what I mean? Like, so I took it, but I made it my own. I remixed it very much. And so on this drawing, Teal kind of like in the future, like I took these people and I made them my own X-Men and heroes. And she says, "Gary, it's time. Elliot is ready." And then they have taken the whole East Coast. It's only a matter of hours until, and then he grabs her. And as you can see, I've taken now what Rasputin says to Kitty, and I have taken this for my people. But I could see a Gary Vaynerchuk see something like this, at least in real life and also in my fiction. And he says, can our mad, desperate plan work? Should it? And she says, I changed it there. And she says, past, present, and futures are coexisting. And he doesn't care about that. He says, and what happens to our love if we change the past? And she says, we. And he says, I am selfish. Our love matters most to me. Maybe I've butchered it a bit, but you get it. And then she says, Gary, if our love was meant to be, it will be. And then he says, I love you, Teal. And as you can see, I'm not encouraging to steal anything, but I'm encouraging you to remix stuff. So maybe sometimes someone reads my stuff and he says, "Oh, where did you get it?" And then I can point back in time and I tell you, this comic really moved me, and it was really great. The story was really great. The artwork was really good. And so you go back in time and read this, and yeah, you will take your lessons. So at the Pentagon, Mystique leads the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants against the X-Men, and a battle ensues in the past, and they fight, and I don't know, they try to kill each other. And in the future, there's also a fight. There's also a mission. There's a double mission. There's a mission in the past. The stakes are high because they try to kill Senator Kelly or Charles Xavier. And in the future, they're trying to get to the Sentinel headquarters so they can shut down something. And they try to do it. They succeed to get into the building where the security chips are. And in the past, the battle gets really intense. Beautiful drawing here. Look at this, like really great art. And what's also great is then Kurt fights versus Kurt, and we don't know who's the real one, who's not the real one. And Wolverine wants to jump in. He pops his claws, and Aurora jumps in and says, "Don't use your claws. Sieve them or use them on me." And he says, "That can't be arranged, babe." Goddess, he means it. "I'm a leader of the X-Men. While that is so, you will use your claws when I command, no other time. I wouldn't take that from Cyclops." And then she says, "You will take it from me. You possess speed, strength. Your unbreakable adamantium skeleton makes you nearly invulnerable. You should not need your claws. Except in the most extreme of situations against the deadliest and most powerful foes. All right, Storm, I'll do it your way for now. But this conversation ain't finished, not by a long shot. But then this are, you know what I mean? These are moments of beautiful writing, common sense, and as they say, common sense is not common practice. And yeah, you can feel the love and care that went into the story, into this comic, and that's always a great thing when you feel that somebody put his heart, soul, and blood, sweat, and tears into something. It doesn't matter the medium, but this moves you. This moves your soul an inch in the right direction. And well, back in the future, I don't want to spoil it, but back in the future, Colossus tries to do the trick with Wolverine again, and this time he fails. The Sentinels here are a bit more powerful than the ones they encountered, and so Wolverine dies, and then shortly after that, Colossus and Storm try to fight, but then Storm dies. And Colossus fights back. He, I don't know, punches a sentinel out of the building, but then here down in the street, this woman senses how the X-Men all die, and she thinks, I hope they make it in the past, because in the future we have done everything we can do, and now it's over. So it's looking pretty grim, and I don't know, do I have to spoil the whole thing? I just know that Kitty Pryde saves the day in the past, and Senator Kelly doesn't get killed, and so it wipes the timeline. And again, as a great fan of the Age of Apocalypse, this moved me very much. There were scenes in this comic where I was tearing up or almost choking. Like it's so well written, and it moved me. So I hope I could share some insights or great things with you. Yeah, until the next video. See ya.